Very good morning and welcome to the Lugnet Stadium here in Falun, and a really good crowd out for the prologue of both the men's and women's classic sprint. Alongside myself, David Goldstrom, I have Mike Dixon, six-time Olympian at cross-country and biathlon, and a really good atmosphere in the stadium. For the next hour or so, the story is all about qualifying for the main event later this afternoon. But before we get underway, a chance to get the opinions of our expert Per Ellefsen, no less, who will be talking to Roberto Vacchi. Well, it's a big field in the women's competition, 95 competitors from 37 countries. But time now to get the view of Per Ellefsen about who might win and who might be on the podium today.
Ja, idag drar det igång på riktigt. Vi hade kvaltävlingar igår, men idag ska medaljer delas ut. Det är sprinttävlingar i den klassiska
Well, it really gets
stilen.
underway today. We had the qualifying today for the final events, which start off at 3 o'clock local time here in this classic sprint. Well, if we start off with the women, Marit Bjørgen's the big favourite, but there are a lot of potential medal winners here. We have lots of Norwegians, the Swedes, and also Justina Kowalczyk. Interesting to see how she gets on. Yeah, you could say that Stina Nilsson is also someone we need to take note of.
Hon kommer här och givetvis vara en klar medaljfavorit också på hemmaplan. Hon är också tydligt visat
att Stina's had a good season, only 21 years of age.
Framförallt kommer från Norge. Maiken Kaspersen Falla, olympisk guldmedaljör.
Yeah, and there are others, says Roberto. We have to consider Olympic champion Falla and the silver medal last year, Østberg from Sochi. You're absolutely right. There will be a red Norwegian army that will be fighting for medals today. And what about Marit Bjørgen? With Celine Brunli and Kari Kjeitnes.
Kowalczyk. Justina Kowalczyk, vad tror vi om henne?
We can't do this competition without mentioning Justina Kowalczyk. What's your thoughts about her? Well, the season hasn't been as good as we're used to seeing. It looks as if she's not in her best shape, but we know this is the World Championship, so I'm sure she's going to be ready to give of her best. As for the ladies, Marit Bjørgen, with the bookmakers, 6-4 favourite. She's won 5 out of the sprints, 6 races that she's actually contested this season. She leads the Sprint World Cup. She leads the Distance World Cup.
Ja, det är ju mycket norskt där också, men det finns starka utmanare. Till exempel Federico
And she might be getting a 30th championship medal here. What about the men's side? We have interesting challengers like Federico Pellegrino. Yeah, he's had a great season so far and arguably is the most reliable sprinter. He's a light guy. It's a tough course with 2 big climbs. He has a physique that would fit this course, and there are 2 tough climbs, so it's very important to be supple. Well, someone who has a totally different body shape is Ola Viggo Haderstad, the Olympic champion, and he also won the Worlds in 2009. Is he a contender? Absolutely right. He has the experience. He's in great shape. I also want to mention Alex Harvey from Canada. He looks really interesting. I think you need to keep on the right side of him. This course will suit him. Alex Harvey, the Canadian, often produces good results here. He was behind Finn Hagen-Krohn and in front of Andre Bakken and Fosli. None of those 3 Norwegians are in the sprint final, although they were prominent in Östersund. Yeah, that's pretty sensational to have such a competition amongst the Norwegians. So Hagen, who won the last World Cup, doesn't even get to start here. Well, it's time to concentrate on the qualifiers, and then we'll see who will go forward to the finals. It's the first 30 who go forward to the quarterfinals. Well, here is the stadium, and you can see the crowds are really packed in. This is the first of the medal days, and Mike Dixon alongside me. Mike, it's the atmosphere of the Worlds, isn't it?
You can absolutely feel it. The spectators have been flooding in since 10 o'clock this morning, and this will be a fantastic spectacle on a very, very small course here, very tightly packed.
We'll be back for more after this. So we're just minutes away from the start of the qualification, first for the women, then the men a little later. 95 women, 130 men, starting at 15-second intervals. But before we get to that, let's remind you of what we have on the menu. Now today, qualification coming right up. Then 3 o'clock Central European time, it's the quarterfinals for the men's and women's sprint final in classic style. And then it's the qualification for the women on the normal hill at 16:45. Tomorrow, the Nordic combiners who've been training here for 5 days, they've had plenty of practice in the individual Gundersen on the normal hill, and then the women's medal ski jumping, again 15 minutes before 5 Central European time, to be followed a little later by the men's qualification on the normal hill. And we come to the weekend, skiathlon for ladies, skiathlon for men, and of course that brings into play the likes of Dario Cologna. And then on Sunday, we've got another fantastic packed program, Nordic Combined Team event, and the Team Sprint, which is in freestyle this year, and the Nordic Combined Team event, and then the ski jumping mixed team medal. So Sunday's a really big day, and we'd love to have your company whenever possible. Mike Dixon and myself, David Goldstrom. We're going to take another little break, and then we'll be set for the start of the women's sprint qualification. So, Mike, the journey here is 1.4 kilometers for men and women.
David, the unique feature, look at this start. From the start, it's a distance of 350 meters to the high point. Then it's a sequence of switchbacks with another further climb, not quite as high, and a very technical descent and down into the stadium. The race will be won in the last 150 meters, as usual in the sprint races. And
a warm day. It's just shy of 5 Celsius plus here. So not the easiest necessarily for servicemen. Men could make mistakes, as you see the start list here. And remember, they're going to start at 15-second intervals. The big favourites to get into the top 30 go first. But of course, Mike, what comes into play, classic race, so getting the right ski structure, getting the right waxing, and it might be different for the prologue than it is later for the actual quarterfinals, because the temperature will change in the next couple of hours.
Well, that is the feeling, and the athletes have the opportunity, even throughout, those who make the top 30 from this time trial, they have the opportunity in the quarterfinals, semi and finals to use different skis if needed. And of course the technicians constantly looking and feeling and changing if necessary. But 5 degrees at the moment, the tracks are all nice and firm at the moment, but that will change with so many athletes going around this 1.4 kilometer track.
The Nordic Ski World Championships, which began back in 1925 for men. Women joined the fun in 1954. And over all those years, 1,184 medals have been awarded. And here we have some 700 competitors across the Nordic disciplines, 483 in cross-country, 149 in ski jumping, 69 in Nordic combined. And there are 21 gold medals up for grabs here between now and Sunday, the 1st of March. 12 in cross-country, 5 in ski jumping, 4 in Nordic combined, and everybody really pumped up. And over the years that the Nordic Ski World Championships have been held, Norway, by some margin, are the country that have collected most medals. 115 golds, 94 silvers, 95 bronze medals, a total of 304. And the next country is Finland with 194 and Sweden with 121. So Norway massively over the years have been the star standout performers. So now to the athletes who would have been warming up earlier today for this, as we see in picture there, Justyna Kowalczyk, the conundrum that she is at this moment.
her first race this season, David, up in Kusamo, the Ruka event, the 3-day event. She was good. In fact, that was her best sprint, really, 7th position. But she hasn't shown anything of her past magic this season.
Yeah, because if she was in the sort of form that earned her a silver medal in Whistler, if you remember in 2010, in classic style, then she'd really be a contender here today. But one of her weaknesses, she doesn't have many, but one of them is the downhill descents. And here it's fast, it's twisty, and we think there may be 1 or 2 fallers here.
Well, I think so. Certainly the run out from the stadium, it's a simple run out, and I mentioned earlier, 350 meters distance, you reach the highest point on this course. An awful lot of work early on.
We're under starters' orders. The United States is Ida Sargent, keen to go for Geitnes for Norway. The women's time trial. You need to be in the first 30 to go forward to the quarterfinals later this afternoon. 1,400 meters. Almost immediately you start climbing, and it is a really continuous climb before you come to, I think, a really demanding descent. The wind, such as it is, will be in their faces when they come back into the stadium, and it'll be on their tails when they run down the finish straight.
Well, and the sun, as Ida Sargent gets underway, the sun just seems to have come out, David, and who knows, that might make a little change in the feel of the skis, the grip, the stick wax underneath their feet.
And a really good sporting cheer for Hanna Falk here from Torsby in Sweden. A season's best, a 5th place finish in a freestyle sprint at altitude in Davos. But this is classic, and now Justina Kowalczyk, 32 years of age. You have to go down to 25th place to find her in the sprint rankings at this particular moment. And the Olympic silver medalist in classic from Whistler. And you can see here, compared to Hanna Falk, who just preceded her, not the same dynamic.
Not quite. Once Kowalczyk gets up to pace, though, she's looking a lot better, I must say, than she has previously.
Mike, you think that this might suit Kari Geitnes, because physically this is the sort of course for someone who's carrying a little less kilos, a lighter person might profit here.
Well, I think it is. And Geitnes, she's more an out-and-out sprinter. When she gets in the pack, she's less tactically good.
That's Shapovalova of Russia getting underway. And here comes the Olympic silver medalist from Sochi 2014. And it's Ingvild Flugstad Ørsberg, who's really grown up these days and is a great classic sprinter. She had a victory in Otapa just after the Tour de Ski. And Anastasia Dotsenko about to start here. Her best result coming in the very first of the classic sprints in Ruka.
Well, David, you need to be so reactive. You need extremely fast reactions as Marit Bjørgen lines up.
Yeah, Marit Bjørgen, well, 29 Olympic and World Championship medals and 19 World Championship medals. And looking for number 20 today. And Mike, I know that you were listening in when she said, I really love this course.
She said that last night, David, on television, and when she says she loves it, and they were talking about the pressure. Are you feeling nervous? She said, not at all. After surviving Oslo, I feel no pressure.
Keegan Randall just disappearing in the distance from Anchorage, world silver medalist back in 2009. And out of the start gate there goes Celine Brunli from Trondheim. Celine 5th in the rankings, in the sprint rankings, and on a slight upward curve. And here is the Olympic champion, Micah Kaspersen-Faller, and there have just been signs of her improving in the last couple of races. She was 2nd last weekend in Östersund, and that was her best classic race of the season. Malvaleto can also produce results for Finland, 31 years of age from Lahti.
Good in classic, David, but I think she needs to reach more out. The 10-kilometre distance, 20-kilometre more suited.
Looking for Ida Sargent to come home to give us a first time here. There is Ida. and swings round here. Unlike Oslo, there's no little roller to give you momentum to come in, but now the wind is behind you, and this is where the double poling comes in, and you can see in these warm conditions it's getting hard, and arguably, Mike, there's an advantage to go early.
I think there is. The tracks are firm, and Ida Sargent deciding not to stand in the tracks, that it is faster outside of the tracks, and this looks a good performance.
3:36.53 is the marker, and Hanna Falk is storming home behind her here, and a big cheer for Hanna, obviously, by this Swedish crowd. And that looks a really good time performance. We'll bring that to you. I've got Hanna Falk 3:31.09, and third across the line there, Kowalczyk. Kowalczyk 3:24.89.
Well done, Kowalczyk. That looks good, but that will be challenged and probably beaten.
Keitner's coming in here. She's just outside. You can see Kowalczyk's time. Well, and it's fast and furious.
It is, and Kowalczyk, she is a worker. She attacks the uphill climbs. Maybe this track suits her.
Yeah, we'll never rule out a champion. And she hasn't shown us anything so far. Double poling very strongly across the line there, and home is Shapovalova of Russia, and she's home 7 seconds down on Kowalczyk. Erzberg, new time for Erzberg, 3:25.54. This is interesting. Kowalczyk has set a pace here.
Well, she really has, and that is great news for Polish fans and for Kowalczyk. Dutsenko, not going to be a challenger. I think you need to be within 6.5 seconds of the fastest time to make it. 3.34 is good.
Marit Bjørgen, double poling in here. Once at the World Championship, she failed to qualify. That was back in 2005. But you can see here she's outside the time of Kowalczyk. So Kowalczyk, who's been racing and preparing very sparingly, has sent us a little message. But remember, this, potentially, if you're going to the final, is only your first journey. You have to do quarters, semis and finals.
Interesting, Marit Bjørgen looking up at the scoreboard there, David, she seemed to be kind of questioning what has happened to me. 2.5 seconds off Kowalczyk.
Keegan Randall, well, she would be a better freestyler. And that time I don't think is going to be good enough. 3:28 there for Celine Brunlee, and the Olympic champion coming home now. There's Kowalczyk's time. Micah Kaspersen-Faller, I said she was on the upgrade. She's not far from Kowalczyk, but look at that, 0.24, but that's a decent run.
Interestingly, Faller didn't extend her lead foot out across the line. She could have pulled back 0.2 of a second had she done that.
And Malvaleto should be next home for Finland. Here she comes, and that time of Kowalczyk is absolutely storming at the moment. I'm just trying to think who might come up there. Ida Ingsmarsdotter should be next home for Sweden. Here she is in this all-white strip. Silver medal last World Championships in Val di Fiemme when it was a classic race, and she's a strong athlete. Now Pajala for Sweden, 4.75. That's on the margins.
On the margins. It's such a fast course today. There aren't many areas to lose time in the descents, and I think that's why it has suited Justina at the moment. But it's a different game when you're then lined up 6 aside later in a quarter-final.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sadie Bjornsson from Anchorage in Alaska. 9 seconds off the pace. I'm afraid that will not do. Sophie Caldwell, her American teammate from Peru in the United States. And I'm afraid 7.87 is going to be too much. Actually, I've never quite understood, is it Peru, Indiana or Peru, Nebraska? We've yet to find out.
Van de Graaf may be better in the freestyle, but this is looking comfortable at the moment. 8.06, maybe not to make that top 30.
Now Stina Nielsen, who's been a real star, the 4th best sprinter, 3:26.08, 1.19. has Justyna Kowalczyk finally found her form when it matters most.
I am so happy for Kowalczyk. I don't mean to be negative at all, but when it's 6 in a pack racing later, then it's about strategy, and Justyna not quite as good as St. Björgen when it comes to that situation.
Madieva, a good sprinter, but arguably a better freestyler than a classic sprinter representing Russia. Next home will be Hannah Kolb of Germany, 23 years of age, only in the top 10 once this season, Hannah Kolb, and long way behind, and also out of the tracks.
Out of the tracks. Most of the athletes are opting to stand out of the tracks. The icy surface is faster. Denise Herrmann, this is looking good within what, 6 seconds? Oh, 7.5. A touch and go if she'll make it into the top 30.
Katja Wisnar, who 2 years ago in Val di Fiemme missed the podium and finished in 4th place, but that looks good enough to me to see her into the quarter-finals. She was runner-up in the first classic sprint of the season in Ruka in Kuusamo in Finland. 6th best sprinter of the World Cup season coming in to these World Championships. Gaia Vurik now from Predazzo, and 13 seconds. I'm afraid that will be outside the top 30. And Anna Kolonen also outside the top 30 in the World Cup rankings for sprint, and 9.58. So we'll just try to catch our breath now and tell you 24 are home. Katu Niskanen into 11th place, and Kolonen into 21st, so we've not quite got our 30 yet, Mike.
Well, no, I think that was very good from Niskanen, a lot better looking than she has been recently, and of course she has been on the podium this year, Niskanen, in the classic technique.
Greta Long, who recently was 6th in the under-23 Worlds out in Almaty, and now this is Sandra Ringwald. Got a personal best actually in Östersund. Last weekend she was 15th in Östersund. That is a particularly good run.
And look at that time, David. Ringwald 2.8 seconds behind at the moment, and that will stand as one of the top positions, 7th at the moment.
Aina-Kaisa Saarinen 7.71, and Saarinen into 18th place at the moment. Quite often spends time over in Anchorage, and Keegan Randalls quite often spends time over in Finland at Hollola, where Saarinen is based.
This course, David, you need maximum grip when you're basically running up the steep climbs, which we'll see more of later when we get to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I'm rather disappointed, I have to say, and I apologise to those of you at home who are feeling that you're just seeing the finishes and you're not actually seeing any of the track.
It's just so fast, though, isn't it, at 15-second intervals, but I suppose we're watching the clock at the finish to see who makes it into the top 30.
Yeah, but I'd still like to see a little bit of the track so the folks at home can really see the interest. You know, at the moment we don't have really an idea of how well Kowalczyk coped with the downhills.
Indeed we don't. The tracks are still compact though at the moment. I'm looking at the downhills, the switchbacks, and certainly on the uphill the tracks are holding strong.
Well, Keegan Randall has just dropped out of the top 30, 14.86 seconds behind. Greta Laurent is out. Smutner is in 30th place at the moment. Those who are in danger of elimination are the likes of Ida Sargent in 28th place, Hannah Kolb in 29th, Katarina Smutner of Austria, former Czech racer, in 30th place. And Lampitz for Slovenia.
Now just outside, so at 14.99, just outside the top 30. Jaškovic, I thought she would make it in the top 30. Looks like she probably will. Oh, it's going to be close, so close, outside.
Very interesting to see how she and Kowalczyk are going to fare in the team sprint, which is in freestyle, over the coming weekend. Well,
they went down to New Zealand this summer. They've trained an awful lot together, so I really hope that can give some special impulse into their team performances.
Prochaskova, who's a regular performer, 5.51. That is a really good result for Prochaskova. Just looking at some of her results, going back through history, she was 8th 2 years ago in the world, 6th in Oslo, 17th in the Olympics in Whistler, 7th in Liberec. And there or thereabouts, as Matis of Poland fails to qualify. And in fact, she's just gone into 30th place. I beg her pardon. And Ida Sargent, 29th. Perry-Ann Jones of Canada in 28th place, 9.9 seconds off the pace. Grohova of the Czech Republic, 40th, and really looked to be out of gas.
Posey Musgrave coming in next, I think, just looking out the window. She is charging towards the finish.
Yeah, it's a very strong field. This is Pourmeister, who precedes Rosie Musgrave. Rosie from the Huntly Nordic Ski Club. And very good morning to you up at Huntly. Betty Cosgrave, are you up there with a cup of tea in the 90s club? Well, hopefully you are. And of course, brother Andrew will be going in the skiathlon over the coming weekend. Andrew Young goes very shortly in the men's race.
And Posey there outside the top 30, 26 seconds off the pace.
Well, this is remarkable by Kowalczyk here. This is a stunning performance by her. And it's something that we perhaps didn't expect. Now, how does that fare up? Well, the bookmakers made her an 11-1 chance for the medals today. Marit Bjørgen 6-4, Ørsberg 7-1, Stina Nielsen 7-1, Faller 8-1, Justina 11-1. So they might be revising those odds.
Well, it's certainly good form, out-and-out pace there from Justyna Kowalczyk. We've known for so many years her engine, her ability to push hard up any climb, stronger, faster than most of the rest. And I just hope that she can find a strategy, a tactic, when it comes to the quarterfinals, the semis, and hopefully the finals. I would love to see her back on the podium. Stoyan, 41st position, 19:09 behind.
Well, the truth be told, Mike, that everybody was talking only about Kamil Stoch getting medals for Poland in the ski jumping. But now it seems to be that Justyna, in the very private way that she prepares, has pulled something out of the bag.
She certainly has. Her form is great once again, and she's a contender. And I can't wait till the quarterfinals coming up later. Escher Bottomley there, 30 seconds off, 47th position.
Yeah, Justyna Kowalczyk now 32 years of age, not the tallest of athletes, 1.73 m, skis for the Katowice club, supported by Fischer Skis, and of course a couple of gold medals. You remember in the 10-kilometer classic last season in Sochi, and 4 years earlier in Vancouver. She got the gold in the 30-kilometer classic, but of course she also got the silver in the sprint in classic style. So 51 home of the 95 who started out on this massive journey.
Sarah Hale will be coming in soon. This is 52 coming in now. Sarah Hale from Great Britain, bib number 57. Although she does live out here, Sarah knows these tracks better than most in this race. And I can just see Sarah Hale coming around the fast left-hander into the stadium area.
Yeah, apologies again that we're not really seeing any of the racetrack, because it's taken a little bit of the excitement away, but hopefully at 3 o'clock you'll be with us for the quarterfinals, because then we'll see the whole of the 1400-meter race.
It's going to be a lot of tactics, strategies. Do you want to lead it into the stadium? Do you want to be first at the top of the massive climb? And I love this course, David, in that it gives us from start line to the highest point just 350 meters travel down the track. It's an absolute blast from the start.
Just want to emphasize at the moment, Evelina Marcis of Poland is in 30th place, 11.82 seconds off. So she is still looking okay for qualifying. Preceding her, Ida Sargent in 29th place, 11.64 seconds off the lead. And then Perry-Ann Jones of Canada. Those are the three women who are in most immediate danger of being pushed out. If anybody can actually produce a time, 11, so what are we looking at here? 11.82, call it 12 seconds off the leader. And the leader was Justyna Kowalczyk, so 3:30, inside 3:35, and you will qualify.
Not bad. Sarah Hale just coming across there outside that magic top 30.
And a lot of the athletes, if you were with us yesterday for the qualification races for next week's 10-kilometer freestyle race, involved in this classic sprint opportunity.
Yeah, very much. I'm just looking at some of the later starters, David, and it's not, well, with total respect for them, they're not actually giving an all-in-all-out sprint. Some having difficulty with their balance, and it'll be interesting to see how they all cope with the fast descents on in these fast conditions. Number 60. Well, 17-year-old, she won the race yesterday, the race out.
That's Chi, isn't it?
5 kilometres. Chi has taken that one again, and she looked really good yesterday, I thought, in the freestyle.
Yeah, there's much more Chinese participation here, which I think is really healthy. I think the Chinese have realised that for 2018 and the Winter Olympics in South Korea, around Apansia, Pyeongchang, they really need to develop their team. And they've actually put a full team into the women's ski jumping, which we have for you later today.
Xanthea Divets coming in, 56, nearly a minute behind, and it is a short, sharp attack up this climb. You need limb speed, you need strength to cope with the climb, and to stay in the tracks as long as you can, rather than breaking out into a herringbone.
So as you see some of these aspirants coming home, trying to, if not get into the top 30, they will have set personal targets for themselves here. Some will have realised that the top 30 is beyond them, so they will have set a target. Can I get into the top 40? Or can I get into the top 50? And that's what happens on a lot of cross-country races, even though it is the World Championships. So as you see some of these athletes finishing, let me remind you who has qualified. So Justyna Kowalczyk is the fastest in 3:24.89. The Olympic champion Maika Kaspersen-Faller lies second, 0.24 of a second behind. Kari Geitnes of Norway, half a second behind. Then Ørsberg, 0.65 behind, of course, the Olympic silver medalist. Stina Nilsson, who rides high for Sweden in the World Cup sprint rankings, in 5th place, a second behind, but ahead of Marit Bjørgen. Marit Bjørgen, 2.54 off, but she's in 6th place. She's perfectly safe. Sandra Ringwald of Germany, the best German performance, inside 3 seconds. She lies in 7th place. Katja Wisnar, quite familiar, I was going to say, to big occasion racing. She's inside 3 seconds in 8th place. Dotsenko of Russia, who's consistent but never really threatens to win the big races, but she's in the top 10. And Celine Brun-Lee. So when I look at the Norwegians, I'm looking at all 5 who are in the top 10. 50% of the fastest qualifiers are Norwegian.
I think we said earlier, we heard the sort of from Per Elofsson saying it's going to be like a red suit, a train of red suits, as you say. 5 in the top 10, separated by only 3.5 seconds. They really are going to be pushing the pace.
But I know that many of you have got different favourites, so let me whiz through some more. Pajala in 11th for Sweden, Niskanen for Finland in 12th, Sweden's Ida Ingsma-Dotter in 13th place, Prochaskova for the Slovakian team, and then Hanna Falk in 15th place for Sweden. Italy's Baudin Just want to check on Baudin because she had a good result just recently. Yes, she is the under-23 world champion in Almaty from this season, so well done to her. She's a rising star for the Italians. And then Shapovalova, who went early for Russia, 17th. Matvieva for Russia, 18th. Hermann for Germany in 19th. And then Aina-Kaina Saarinen, who is a big occasion racer. That's fantastic that she's made this. Sophie Caldwell, the best for the United States, in 21st place. Malva Leto for Finland in 22nd. Lorien van der Graaf of Switzerland, the best for Switzerland in 23rd. Celia Ammonier of France, the best for her country. She's in 24th spot. Just the last few. Romanova for Russia, Sadie Björnsson for the United States in 26th place, Kolonen of Finland 27th, Petian Jones 28th for Canada, Ida Sargent for the United States 29th, and Evelina Masic for Poland is in 30th place. So those are your 30 at the moment, and I hope many of your favourites are amongst that group, because it's at the moment those 30 who will be going forward to this afternoon's quarterfinals. And the sunshine has blazed out over the Lugnet Stadium. It's such a compact stadium. The noise here, particularly this afternoon, will be really deafening, because the great thing for the spectators on both sides is how close they are to the racers.
You really feel that you're almost touching the racers. You can see almost every part of the course from one standpoint, and I love it. I don't think we've ever seen anything as compact as this, and maybe anything as dramatic as this. The high point, then, it's going to be brilliantly tactical. Later on, we've got a faller. Pity we're not seeing that on the fast left-hander into the stadium. And it is a testing course, David. We're going to see some fallers, I think, when it gets through to the quarterfinals. Very tight and close racing.
Britain's Posey Musgrave now in to 45th position, 26 seconds off the leader.
What has surprised me today, David, 11.2 seconds separating the top 30. In World Cup racing, we're seeing anything between 6 and 7.5 seconds to make the top 30. But of course, at the World Championships, you've only got, well, we've got 5 Norwegians, normally 7 at World Cup, and so on. You can only race and enter 4 athletes, unless you have an athlete who won the previous World Championship sprint, as Norway have.
This young woman who qualified yesterday in the top 10 for the 10-kilometre race, representing Greece, so another race to look forward to. And now we're seeing a little bit of the track here, the bridge.
It's quite funny when the sun came out. The sun came out at the moment Marit Bjørgen started her race, as if a giant spotlight came on her, because she is special.
And the wind has really stiffened now. In the last half an hour, it really has stiffened up, and it's much more in the faces now. One of the things, Mike, about that is that with a lot of talk about when you get to the quarterfinals and you're coming into the stadium, the one thing as you come under the Wiesbaden Bridge you do not want to do is to be in the lead.
Very much so, and I think you're right. Today, with the wind blowing into your face on that section, who wants to lead into the strong wind? Yes, you're carrying 45, 50 kilometers an hour of speed, but those behind you are being shielded from that wind in the face and, of course, the drag-on factor. So it will be a very, very interesting final 300 metres.
Yeah, then you've really got to carry the momentum over the bridge, but also what you've got to do is to corner the right-hander that drops you down into the finish 100 metres. That has to be precision skiing.
And it's going to be down to the wise heads, the likes of Northug in the men's field, who can suss out the best and the quickest route home.
There is that right-hander I was talking about as Bilonaite of Lithuania comes home.
You can see the snow splashing up, so at 5 degrees and warming up, the snow is getting wetter and wetter. And the technicians will be quite frantic now with the sun on all of the track. It wasn't just, 35 minutes ago. they'll be looking for different options in terms of grip wax to make sure it grips well, but also glides well.
So Justyna Kowalczyk, who has 49 World Cup wins to her credits, 30 of them in the World Cup, 14 in the Tour de Ski, 3 in the World Cup finals and a couple in the Ruka Triple, and she still leads the way. And well, we didn't know what we were going to see, but what we've seen from Justyna Kowalczyk, really interesting.
Much improved. She looked dynamic. She looks a slightly slimmed down version, and that's what a lot of athletes do coming into World Championships, to reach your peak form. Her training has obviously been clear and good, as we've seen for many years at majors.
I think the other factor also, not to go into huge detail, Mike, but you know, she has had some difficult personal times, which for anybody would have been difficult to manage in terms of her personal life with her relationships, and I think that really slightly overwhelmed her, and it's an understandable reason why her concentration and her feeling was divided. And now perhaps time has passed and she's beginning to manage that, and the evidence is in that run this morning.
Very much so, and I'm just so pleased to see that the great Justyna Kowalczyk back where she rightly is, the form that she normally shows at major championships, at World Cups. And I just can't wait to the races later to see how she manages the situation when she's racing neck and neck, head to head with 5 other athletes.
I mean, the last time she raced in the World Cup was Otapa on the 17th of January. Since then, she's been preparing for the World Championship. She has not taken part in any World Cup race since then.
And clearly the preparation has worked well. Looking at her form there, 0.24 seconds faster than Fala. It is a different race though, David. You know, it's you against the clock. There's no traffic in the way. It's just you. And that's the one aspect of Justyna Kowalczyk that's, for me, stronger than any other athlete over the years. She can push herself to a limit that few can tolerate. And when it's her against the clock, she comes up with the goods, and I just hope tactically she gets it right. I know they've looked at this course, I know they've practiced the descents, so hopefully she's the best that she can be right now.
Yeah, because there was a lot of discussion, wasn't there, about how much work she traditionally has done in terms of strength and power, when a lot of people were saying the strength and power is not the problem, it's the technique that needs to be worked on.
It's a lot of balance, a lot of technique, easy money in terms of improvement on these cross-country skis, and she certainly looks sharp and cornering easily, so without a doubt back at her best.
And I'm sure she's absolutely delighted, the Polish fans. She hasn't been on the podium this season, as you said, Mike. Her best finish was 4th. It was early in the season. It was in the Classic Sprint, race number 2 of the Wiesmann World Cup season. And they're from Tonga, finishing the race and looking completely out of energy. But that's a good sign that you've given you a wonderful shot. Look at the course there. Well, just underneath the map. We'll see it a little more clearly lately. But here are your qualifiers. You're looking at the top 30. Delighted to see Saarinen again. Fantastic that she's actually managed to prepare. It gets harder as the years go on, but she is a big occasion racer.
And all 4 of the Finns, David, there's Kilonen as the last Finn in 27th position, and they are good at tactical racing. Saarinen, she's proved over many years that she knows how to handle tight racing and always seeking the best racing line.
So those are your 30 for the quarterfinals at 3 o'clock. Well, the men are still to come, and hopefully we might see a little bit of the track, which would be, particularly with the first racer going out, it would be really nice to follow the first racer all the way round the track. I can't see any reason why that can't be achieved, but you can see the crowds have come in, and there's just as many as you see on the left that are now on the right. We'll catch our breath and now get ready for the men's time trial. Well, time to concentrate on the men's quarterfinals now, and it's a massive start number. 130 athletes from 49 nations, and perhaps the biggest surprise has got to be the absence of Finn Hågen Krogh, the Norwegian who leads the Sprint World Cup rankings, and the man who actually just last weekend won the third of this season's classic sprints, and he has been omitted from the Norwegian team. Now, a lot of you will be going, well, how on earth did that happen? I'll tell you. Very simply, the Norwegians had made their criteria, and the decision as to who would represent Norway in the individual sprint was made before the Östersund race last weekend. And so, therefore, Finn, even though he did the weekend double, is not in the start list for the Norwegians. There are divided opinions. Only one Norwegian newspaper has sort of made a thing of it. Apparently, we understand from our Norwegian colleagues that it's not the biggest thing in Norway, because he's not obviously as big a name as Petter Northug, but nonetheless there's quite a lot of surprised faces around here from the world across country who expected to see him.
David, he also leads the world sprint standings, so Finn Hågen Krogh not here. For me, it's an amazing surprise. He's a man on form, not included.
So Parfanov of Russia gets us underway, and as you said, Mike, this is exactly the same journey as for the women.
It is. Here's the only flat section, 200 meters at the start. Starega, this young man is improving, the 25-year-old from Poland, and he will be inspired by the performance from Justyna Kowalczyk, back on form, setting the fastest time in the women.
Petter Northug with brother Thomas also representing Norway. Petter, who's not won a sprint this season. He was the silver medalist 2 years ago in Val di Fiemme. He lies 8th in the World Cup rankings, whereas his younger brother lies 5th. Ustagov in traditional Russian style. He just is so hungry. His season's best was in Rybinsk in the sprint, but that was a freestyle affair. But he's a pretty accomplished athlete in both codes.
I have to say, David, Ustagov out of the stadium. I'll make him already a second up on Petter Northug.
And here's the man I call the head waiter, Erik Bransdal, second favourite with the bookmakers today, 28 years of age. And this is the man, Bransdal, who hunts and waits, and that could be a good tactic today. With Strandvall of Finland on his way.
Look at this climb. You can see at the stadium, they've come all the way from the stadium, all except the first 200 metres is uphill. Here's Petter Northug's younger brother, Thomas. 7th at the weekend in Östersund. He's a man on form, not quite the form of Finn Hågen Krogh. Well, Ustagov still chasing Petter Northug. Good to have these 15-second gaps. And here's Harestad, the Olympic champion.
Yeah, is he as good in classic as he is in freestyle? And Harestad, completely different physique, tall, rangy athlete. Tony Ketelai, often overlooked, but this is a good sprinter. He was 3rd in Ottawa in the 2nd of this season's 3 World Cup sprints, and lies 19th in the sprint rankings, headed by the absent Finn Krogh. Panczynski, an Olympic silver medalist from Whistler in 2010, and of course he was behind his teammate Nikita Krukov when the Russians produced a dynamic race plan and sprinted straight away from the beginning from the Norwegians and caught everybody out.
It was a great strategy, and Alex Harvey, he will, I'm quite sure, make it into the top 30, but for me he's one of the best athletes with the best strategy on this type of course.
Patukov for Russia, 31 years of age, couple of second place finishes in freestyle sprints. Just want to rewind there to Alex Harvey, Mike, because it was here in the 80s that his dad Pierre won the 30-kilometer classic style, went on to win the Holmen Column at 50 kilometer, and that was the year in which Alex was born.
Well, wouldn't that be great for Alex Harvey to make history? Parfanov, that's a good time. I'm sure it will be beaten by up to 4 or 5 seconds.
Simeon Hamilton from the United States, from Aspen, just underway, lies 20th in the World Cup rankings. Petter Northug into the lead, a big bite, 2.21, and Petter Northug 4-1 with the bookmakers, the favourite to win gold today.
Ushtikov, he went out so fast, he'd certainly pulled back a couple of seconds off Petter Northug by the top of the climb, but he had nothing left, barely anything left for the stadium. Still good though, 1.49 behind. In 4th place.
Bransdal, quickest, and that's the head waiter.
On form, he is absolutely on form, and doesn't look like that effort has cost him anything.
Bransdal 5-1 with the bookmakers, second favourite, Stransvald.
I like these, you mentioned these Finns earlier. I think Stransvald, Ketelai and Penssinen, I think they're a fantastic team, and Stransvald is very good in strategy.
Thomas Northug, look at that. Well, no flash in the pan, says Thomas. I know I won at Otterpa, and I know everybody wasn't there, but that was my day. 8th, 1st and 7th in the 3 classic races.
Look at Harrestad.
Well, the Norwegians have absolutely reigned supreme in these sprint races. It's been that way for as long as I can remember, to be honest.
Ketelai looking very, very easy here. He's just wanting to make his top 30 and then open up later. 4:08 behind. 3rd place.
Yeah, there have been 7 sprints in the World Championship since the sprints were introduced back in Lahti in 2001, and Norway has never gone home without a medal in any of the 7 men's sprints that have been held to date. So that tells you something. And if a Norwegian, how could it not be the case? Harvey there, 2:38.
Perfect. I think that is perfect. He probably didn't want to set the fastest time. He just wants to make it into the sharp end of the finishing result here.
If the Norwegians get another medal at the end of today in the men's sprint, they will equal the longest ever medal streak in an individual event. 8 consecutive medals have been achieved previously by Norway, but that was between 1960 and 1974.
Halvorsen for Sweden looking comfortable there.
Newell for America. Andy Newell, how good is that? 3.62, a chance.
I think that's very good. That's much improved. 5th position, 14 finishers on the good finishers.
Olympic champion coming home. Look at this, almost inside 3, and Krukov. And Krukov looking very trim.
He is, and he is one of these athletes. We saw that in Vancouver, a bit of an unknown before Vancouver, and of course he took the gold medal in this event, the classic sprint.
Yeah, and if you look at his sprint form this season in the 3 classics, 12th, 31st and 14th, but he's obviously prepared for this.
He has Simeon Hamilton 12th, 6.64 behind. I think that's safe for a top 30, certainly. Pellegrino, comfortable, 4.97 behind 10th place.
Theodor Pedersen, and of course a lot on his shoulders with the absence of Emil Jonsson with a pulled hamstring. I really feel so sorry for Emil, because he was a bronze medalist in the Olympic Games last year, if you remember, Mike. And he's been thinking of these World Championships for years about how to actually perform here on home snow, and you have to commiserate with him.
And I must say, David, in this, the time trial last Sunday in last Saturday, his time was excellent. I think he was 0.64 of a second behind, so he was a man on form, and then he picked up that injury in the quarterfinals.
What's the maxim? Sport takes place between injuries.
You just have to live with it. I mean, he looked pretty cheerful on television last night. They were commiserating, and he said, hey, nothing I can do about it. Yes, I've planned the last 4 years around this moment, but he's not racing today, and he has to deal with it, and he's dealt with it well.
Just reflecting on Petter Northug, He's got a total of 11 gold medals from World Championships and Olympic Games, and 9 of those have come in World Championships, but he hasn't got a sprint gold.
Well, maybe it's today. Kenneth Valias came across the line looking very strong, 5 seconds off, so he's well and truly qualified. Eisenhower, that's an improved performance, 8th position, 3.75 behind. Andrew Young attacking up the steepest of climbs now, looking very, very good for Great Britain.
Yeah, and just a mention for Colonia. Now, that is not Dario, that's Gianluca. And younger brother and Timchanka for Norway. Krukov still the best time. Andrew Young, yeah, I think all of you got fingers crossed up there at the Huntley Ski Club. Betty Crosgate, if you didn't hear us before, we hope you're well. We hope you've got all your friends around you with a cup of tea and something nice to nibble. And I hope you'll be with us for the quarterfinals. We've got our fingers crossed for Andrew, but this is a very tall order to squeeze in here to the 30.
This is good, very good from Schneider, 0.27. Now there's an outsider performing well when it matters most. He's delighted.
So he should be. We've still not got 30 home yet. So the fun and games towards the bottom of the order doesn't start there. That is an absolutely brilliant performance by Schneider. Just about to start here, Dakota Black Horse Von Jess for the United States on his debut at the World Championships.
Love that name.
Yeah, and hopefully get that on a football shirt, could you?
Hopefully a name that's going to be at the top or making it into the top 30 today.
Hakola, Finland, 3:31.
The Finns are flying today, and as I said earlier, they're pretty good in terms of strategy later on. Miyazawa, this looks good for a qualification. 6.31 behind, 23rd position. Might hold on to the top 30. Korsishek coming up to the line. He needs to pick up his pace. I don't think he's going to make it outside the top 30.
There, and in 30th place, Mike, now the very tall Johan Edin of Sweden. So he's the next man to be bumped out. Maciek Starega is just above him, and Edin's out. Andrew Young's into 30th place.
9.87 behind, just across the line. Well done, Andrew.
Now, you have to hold your breath. I mean, because there are so many good people. Polterainen.
Polterainen's just moved him down. 29th place, Polterainen. I thought he might be better.
Yeah, Polterainen, who has form.
Rastelli, 25th, just ahead of Hamilton from the USA.
Canada and Jesse Cockney from Canmore in Alberta. 3:13.52, but I'm afraid that's a little down on the clock there, so that won't help him either. And sitting in 30th place at the moment, it's Alexei Polterainen, and Panshinsky is sitting in 29th place, the Olympic silver medalist from 2010. Parfanov, who started the time trial off. So what do we got? Parfanov, Panshinsky, and then the Kazakh Polterainen. Ustigov in 27th place. All in danger now.
Well, Ustigov went so fast over the first part of the climb. I don't think he had any feeling left in his arms or his legs. He lost an awful lot of time in the second part of this course.
And Simeon Hamilton for the United States in 26th place at the moment. Rastelli of Italy in 25th. Patukov of Russia in... where is he? Just Patukov in 25th place. Good to see the Japanese hero Uki Miyazawa in 24th place. That could stand. Tim Schanke for Germany. Theodor Pedersen in Sweden. Well, we were expecting maybe something faster, but maybe he's just doing what he has to do at this stage.
I honestly think, David, yes, you've got to make the top 30. You absolutely have to make the top 30 to get into that final. But then it comes to tactics, to where you put yourself, how you pace the quarterfinal, and Sweden will be hoping that those strategies are in place.
23rd place for the Kazakh Chobotko, so that's one place. So if we call it 3 minutes exactly, just to give us an easy guide here, you've got to be inside 306, 307 to qualify.
And what's that, a gap of what, 8 seconds back to the
7 seconds, 8 seconds.
7. Well, we've seen a World Cup this season as Philip Bellingham comes in, 25 behind, he's not going to make it. We've seen some of these qualifying sessions, you need to be between 5.5 and 6.5 seconds behind the fastest to make the top 30. So it's slightly extended today.
But the top 30, or at least those who are in positions 20 to 30, still may have to be careful, because, as I said, you're seeing bib number 45 finishing there, and there are 130 starters. Well, so it's not over yet. Some surprises may still come.
Well, I think, I agree. We've got Kretschmar, Volotka, there's some good names out there, but not renowned sprinters. Nothing. Quite honestly, from position 75 down to 130, they won't be threatening at all.
Benjamin Saxton, also a debut World Championships for him, and 16 seconds. In other words, you need to be not more than 7 seconds off the lead here. 8.21, that's a good effort there by Jan Barton of the Czech Republic.
Just outside though, 32nd position. And you mentioned Benjamin Saxton, he raced well at the Universiade recently down in Slovakia.
Also just missing out, you can see there another, if you take 1.5 seconds off that, he'd have been inside the qualifying.
I think as well, David, it's quite fair to say that with the traffic, now 50 athletes having been around this 1.4 course, the conditions are definitely a little slower. The descents are slower. It was hard packed earlier.
Looking for number 53, Maciek Kretschmar. He's one of the older competitors. He'd be just about into his, well, what would he be, 90? Yeah, into his early 30s, but he wears bib number 53. At his best, he would squeeze into the top 30. This is Markus Bader from Austria. Now, Kretschmar should be next, and you could just see him down there. Here he comes. He's coming right in front of our commentary box here. 305, 306, 307. Oh, how painful. 37th place.
It's so close from position 25 all the way back to 45.
And just a reminder of our email address, if you have any questions throughout the World Championships, Nordic Ski TV, all one word, @gmail.com. Nordic Ski TV @gmail.com. We'd be delighted to hear from you. If you manage to keep the questions not too long and not too complicated, then it makes it easier for us to come back to you.
Michael Sheminov there, Belarus. In fact, the Junior World Biathlon Championships taking place at his home venue in Minsk today.
Just going down to 30th place again. And in 30th place at the moment now, Dakota Blackhorse Von Jess of the United States, 7.33. He's in a qualifying position. He's taken the scalp of Parfenov and Panzinski and Poltonanin, so that's a great debut. And right behind him in 29th place is Ustigov and then Simeon Hamilton. So the debutant American is hanging on by his toenails at the moment.
I think it might stay now. The athletes from 58 down, they're unusual. It would be surprising if any of them do make the top 30. So Ustigov, quite fortunate there, 29th position. And now he needs to get his strategies built in if he survives that cut.
Well, that'd be quite something to come here and, you know, on your debut, make it through to the quarterfinals.
That's great achievement. And Hamilton, I must say, looked a whole lot sharper, more dynamic, so a strong American team today. 62 coming in, that's Gary Peters from Luxembourg. Well, not renowned for his cross-country skiing, but certainly easy to travel to all the venues from there. All the Central European venues. 30 seconds off the pace. Bib number 62 finishes 61st. Armenian, this athlete, I believe in Akeliov, he's going to be good. Give him a few more years. Sharapanov, 57th, 21:42 behind.
Very good afternoon, Frank, down in Spain. You picked up on Mike and Patrick's adventure over 100 kilometers, and I did get your invitation for you and Mike to come down and join you in November for the triathlon. Actually, Frank, I think I'll send Mike as my deputant, and I'll just do the sponges and the bucket.
What event is that? Is it a triathlon?
It's a triathlon, yeah, which Frank, who's always a great contributor to the ski jumping, but great to have you with us for the cross country as well.
Jackson Bursell, good to see him from the New South Wales cross country ski team, 47.83.
And still Dakota Black Horseborn Jess, you really wouldn't ever forget that name, would you?
30th position.
Yeah,
qualified.
And I know Tom Kenny, the press attaché for the United States team, he'll be absolutely delighted with that, and the fact that Simeon Hamilton is also in the qualifying order at the moment. And as you said, Mike, although we've got 60 still to get home, this order could stay. Hamilton certainly in 28th place, looking a little bit more solid to qualify, and he's a good sprinter.
Yeah, I think, David, to be honest, I would imagine everyone's safe who's made it in the top 30 now, with Bib 71 coming across the line now. And that's a 60-second position. And a lot of these athletes coming in now, they don't have the backup teams. 13 wax technicians, many more testers. It's hard to compete when you don't have backup at all. You have to do it all yourself, and no finance to back that up either.
Well, if you were here, you could go around near the wax cabins and you'd see three in particular very, very big articulated trucks. One for Norway, which is absolutely the state of the art, Sweden, which is virtually the same, and Russia, who actually bought the old Norwegian truck, didn't they?
They did. Giveaway price, they said, but £250,000.
And in that Swedish truck, I haven't been allowed to nose about in the Norwegian one, 13 workstations, and those are divided between technicians who are expert on grip and expert on glide, and 680 pairs of racing skis, 50 pairs of testing skis.
And David, you can only race 4 athletes unless you've got the reigning champion. You can race 5. All that backup for mostly 4 athletes, yeah, in the men's and 4 in the women.
In one country.
In one country. So if you don't get from your 680 skis the right pair, and of course they do most often get it right, but it's incredible last year at the Olympic Games, where Norway, the Norwegian women, having won every relay leading into the Olympic Games, they came 4th. They got the waxing so wrong. You don't lose that form, and of course they had been winning medals, and that shows the importance of getting the skis and the wax right. They got it very wrong that day.
Interesting, of course, this is the 4th Nordic Ski World Championships that have been contested here in Sweden, but in those previous championships, of course, sprints were not involved in the competition. So this is the first time that sprint has been involved in the Falun Championships here.
Yes, back in, 1993, when the world champs last came here, no sprints in the programme.
Yeah, 1993, the likes of Sture Sivertsen of Norway, he won the 10 Classic. Bjorn Dejli won the 10 and 15 kilometre combined pursuit. He also, Bjorn Dejli, won the 30 Classic. And Tony Mogren saved the day for Sweden. They hadn't got a gold medal until Tony Mogren in 2 hours, 3 minutes and 36.8 seconds, denied Hervé Ballon and Bjorn Daly for the gold medal. Those two other men finishing in silver and bronze. But Norway, as you might expect, did win the relay. From Italy, the great Murillo de Zolt was in that relay team with Albarello, Vanzetta and Silvio Fauna. And Russia were third with Andrei Kirillov, Badamashin, Alexei Prokhorov, who transferred to... No, it was Botvinov who transferred to Austria, wasn't it?
It certainly was. It looks like we're following the Petrovas around this course, and you can see how I mentioned earlier, David, it's so broken up now. This was hard compact tracks earlier, and Petrovas just showing us the way. This is the climb from the start, mostly all the way up. Look how steep this hill is. You can just get an idea of the difficulty of this climb. You need the right wax, and if you don't, you have to brake early into this, the herringbone technique, where the skis are placed wide, because you're not getting any grip from the wax. In fact, the hill is that steep, you can barely guarantee grip all the way up this incline.
Just another little tidbit, Dakota Black Horse Von Jess. I mean, got to meet this man. I really have to meet this man.
I love that name.
In Östersund over the last weekend in the sprint qualification, he only finished in 60th place.
That's a brilliant turnaround, and often that is what World Championships do. There's a big magnifying glass on a World Championships. It's where you're matched up to the rest of the world, and I think he's done a great job today. But you can see the speed there, David, just under 50 kilometers an hour. The best would be doing about 59, 65 kilometers an hour down here.
But the American lad actually earned the title because he won the national US sprint in early January in Houghton, and he won that one in freestyle. But he also, it was a 1 kilometer test, actually won the classic version. He did the double at home in both codes. So 30th place, it just shows you that there's the Americans producing yet somebody who may in time make an impression.
Oh, very much. Petrovas, he just showed us the second of the steep climbs. It's basically coming back up the same hill, but within the loop you've just gone around. And then this is, you can see down into the stadium, some recovery here. And later on, when there's 6 athletes side by side, this is where the tactics come into play. Very fast left-hander into the stadium. And I would say you don't want to be leading here when it comes to trying to qualify into the semi-finals, then finals. Then the final little climb up over the bridge, but all the strategies later will be unfolding on this section.
So suddenly a burst of sunshine over the arena, and here's this what I think will be a crucial drop down and right-hander here. Track position is going to be really important as you come round into the straight, and you've got about 100 meters from there to the finish. And there you can see the grandstand crowds there. They're on the same side as our commentary positions here in Falun.
And that's Petrovas from Lithuania. That's his journey around the whole course, 1.4 kilometer. He'll just maybe slot under 4 minutes.
Yeah, so he's just about a minute behind the current leader. And let me run down where your favourites are. Nikita Krukov, the Olympic champion from Whistler, he leads for Russia in 2:59.92. Ola Vigan Hadderstadt, the 2014 Olympic champion, is in second place, 200ths behind him. Thomas Northug, who won in Otapa a few weeks back, he's in third place. And Uli Schneider, I should say, a dynamite performance from the young Swiss, quarter of a second, 0.27 behind Krukov. Alex Harvey solid in fifth, just under 2.5 seconds off the pace. Kali Halvarsson of Sweden, and then Hakola for Finland, and Hediger for Switzerland in 7th and 8th. Pensinen, the best for Finland, in 9th place. And Andrew Newell, the man from Vermont who does what he wants, in 10th place. But he's worked really hard Andrew, to give him his credit on his technique and the cadence and increasing the tempo, which he was pointing out in a recent article, Mike, that how the sport has moved on. And now when you attack an uphill, you really need to, rather than the quads, you need to get your glute working to actually be more efficient on the uphills and to conserve energy.
I think so, and you've got to be more reactive now as well. As soon as there's a break, you have to react instantly. You've got to have good gear changing. When I say gear changing, it means you've got your flat terrain, your gently up terrain, and then your extremely steep terrain. You've got to be able to change those gears instantly and react to any breaks that are happening.
But what he was really saying is it isn't just about the skis, it isn't just about the wax, it's about you, the human, and how you use your body to do the work in the most efficient way.
And it is, yeah, if you've got movement left and right or up and down, you're wasting energy. Most of the techniques in the top 30 today, with that, 7 seconds separating the best 30, they're quite similar. And now later on today, it's down to strategy, placement, where you put yourself at what time in the race.
So let me continue our journey down the top 30. We have Sebastian Eisenlauer of Germany in 11th place. Tony Kettelai of Finland, 4 seconds off the leader in 12th. Erik Bransdal of Norway, 4:41, but safely through. Matthias Stransvall of Finland, 4:76 off the pace. Federico Pellegrino, who's had 3 victories in the World Cup and has got some serious gears available to him, and if he has them, as he's shown in the World Cup, he's in 15th place, inside 5 seconds. And then Gianluca Cologna, not Dario saving himself for the weekend's skiathlon. Carl Quicklund of Sweden, who's been showing up, and then Peter Northug of Norway, 5.7 off in 18th place. Peter Kummel of Estonia, delighted for Estonia because they don't have too many obvious chances here. And then after him, Theodor Pedersen for Sweden, 5.8 seconds off. Len Valjas from Canada, Tim Shanke, and then Chobotko in 23rd place for Kazakhstan. And then the last few qualifiers, Dominik Baldov of Austria, 24th place. That's extremely good. Hiroyuki Miyazara for Japan, 25th. Alexei Petukov of Russia, 26th. Michael Rastelli for Italy, 6:45 off the pace. He's in the top 30. 28th place goes to Simeon Hamilton, 6.64 off Krukov's time. Ustegov staying alive, but only just in 29th place, 7.19 seconds off. And then our friend Dakota Blackhorse von Jess, 7.33 seconds, but he's still there in 30th place.
Yeah, great effort there from a bib 41. In fact, I think he's the lowest bib number to make that top 30. All those ahead of him on paper ranked higher in the world order, so a wonderful performance. Andreski from Estonia coming in, 1.5 minutes behind. I mean, it's a big margin, but a lot of these athletes at the back end of this race here for experience and benchmarking what they need to do to improve their game in the future.
Interesting point, Frank. You say it's a rumour, but some talk, according to our friend down in Spain, that the Swedes have been working on a new structure with a specialist and has developed one especially for warm and sugary snow here in Falun, and that could make a big difference in the long distance races, because Frank was ski jumping here in Falun in 1993.
Interesting, and well, there's an edge. If you can get an edge, some factor that helps you ski glide faster, then well done the Swedes if they have come up. I know for the last 25 years teams have been looking and testing so many different structures, and you can change the structure of the ski quite easily. A stone grinder, and it's a quick process. It just takes about 2 minutes.
Brett, hello and welcome from Alberta. Good to have your company. and I hope you'll be with us for the championships all the way through. You were saying that you meant to drop us a line during the Tour de Ski relating to Alex Harvey pulling out of the final climb because of the circulation problem that he has, often on the steep hills, and getting surgery this spring. So thank you for that.
Interesting. And well, I think Alex Harvey today, Canadians should feel good because he's well placed at the moment. He looked fantastic on the trial, and he's very good when it comes to strategy.
A little question from Nick here, Mike. This one's for you. Picking up on when we were talking about the skis and how important it is to get them right, and the advantage to the Norwegians and Swedish teams, and he's actually saying, well, why don't they have a standard preparation to make it equal and fair for everybody?
Do you know, when I was racing, I waxed everything myself until the end of my career, and I often thought, wouldn't it be fair if we could just draw lots, all the skis waxed similar? But then you've got different weights of athletes, different sizes, so it's actually not practical.
No change in the top 30 at the moment. And hello to Rob. Now, you and your wife, you're in your 60s, you're going to Seefeld in March on a ski walking holiday. Here's one for you, Mike. We're fairly fit. Will we find it hard, and have you got any tips for them?
So is this a skiing?
This is ski recreational.
Seefeld's wonderful. There are plenty of easy tracks there, so no, go out there and make the most of it.
But in terms of Nordic walking, how would you suggest building up?
It's certainly Nordic walking. If you get your timing with your arms and your legs, as you are seeing in the classic style, I would say build up to 30 minutes of that on an incline, and you will find cross-country skiing very simple.
Well, I hope that's a help, Rob, and from both of us, hope you have a great time in Seefeld. But we've come to the end of this qualification phase now, and as we go back to the top of the leaderboard, it is the Whistler champion of 2010, Nikita Krukov, who is in the lead and takes the honours, and that will give him a seeded position, of course, if you win this, and he will have the fastest time, 2:59.92. He'll wear bib number 1, and remember, he's not only the Olympic champion, he is the defending world champion from Val di Fiemme. He's clearly prepared for this, and so if you look at this, Krukov has a real favourites chance here. 29 years of age, hasn't shown much in the World Cup sprints. In fact, he's not even finished in the top 10, but this has been his big target all along.
It has, and David, this track profile, I think, for Krukov, he's 6'2", it's so slender, probably 6% body fat. He's got amazing reach in his legs, and this tempo for a big tall guy is outstanding. So this track very much suits Krukov, and he is a big occasion athlete, so once again he'll be hoping for another gold medal. But there's plenty that'll be starting alongside him who want that medal as well.
And Lucy, just a quick question about Andy Musgrave, not in the sprint. You could expand on that. Why he's not here?
Well, I think Andy would have done very well today, but a classic is, let's be honest, it's not his most effective technique, but a whole lot better this year. Basically, the race on Saturday, the skiathlon, is a much more favoured race for Andrew, and hey, I believe and I hope that he can get into the top 15, possibly a top 10, and if you can do that, the options are endless.
I think his performance over the weekend in Östersund in the 15-kilometre race was really sound. It was solid. He knew exactly what he was doing. He finished in the top 15, which may not be his highest World Cup finish, but in that race was just about everybody that he has to face. That's different to the 13th place he got earlier in the season. People who mattered, the likes of Johan Olsen, Finn Krogh, those sort of people, Sundby, Hellner, those are the people that he's got to be, or is going to be up against when it comes to the 15 next week. Well, we've come to the end. There are your qualifiers. Theodor Pedersen is someone we think can do quite well, but maybe a little ominous to see him down in 20th place. And there is the man with a name not to forget in 30th. We're going to take our leave. We're back at 3 o'clock for the quarterfinals, and we're going to entertain you with the ski flying from Vickerson and the world record from last Sunday. So time for Mike Dixon and myself to catch our breath and get ready for the quarterfinals. I hope you've enjoyed these time trials. There you can see that fantastic picture of the whole of this 1,400-meter track. All those fans, they're not going anywhere. In fact, the crowd is going to increase. So for now, thank you for your company. 3 o'clock Central European time for the women's and men's quarterfinals.